All right, here we go on a Tuesday morning in New York City from the Built Ford Tough studio. It is the Boomer and Geo program on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. We've got Fleegs and CeeLo and the Eddie Scazzeri, as handsome as always. We've got the Jets to discuss. Why? Because one Jets Drive was released last night. It was pretty damn good, too. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers this morning, partly because of that episode, partly because we are heading into another week of preseason football and another week down as we are barreling our way to the season opener. We will talk about the Mets at some point. We have David Wright in studio coming up at 9 o'clock this morning, and we've got the Yankee mess as well. And I've got one handsome sumbitch to my right. His name is Boomer Esiason. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, Jerry. A little tired. You can tell my voice a little raspy because I was working on my bass tones last night because I was getting sick and tired of watching the Yankees unable to score any goddamn runs.
Brutal.
Bases loaded and Aaron Boone just going off last night. And I don't blame him, actually. Because, you have to remember, this is why coaches berate officials, because their jobs are on the line. And it's no joke. It's absolutely no joke. And I think that, watching Aaron Boone just basically go off last night, and I think it was genuine. I don't think it was disingenuous. Sometimes those guys go out there and you think it's just for the show. I think he's frustrated. I think he needed somebody that was going to be the ear of that frustration, and it was going to be Laz Diaz. And he went off last night.
Diaz was awful all night.
I know he was. Well, listen, it's like Angel Hernandez behind home plate too. I mean, the Yankees have been victimized here. Just the amount of missed calls or strike calls that shouldn't be strikes. Whatever you want to call it. The way he went off last night, I don't blame him. I really don't. Nope. Because it is frustrating. It's frustrating to watch them. The Mets were in a rain delay, and I don't know why the umpires didn't just stop the game instead of trying to fix the mound in a downpour. But watching Aaron Boone last night, I think that was a reflection of every single Yankee fan and the way that they have felt about their team all year long.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of things here. Number one, Laz Diaz was horrific. He was horrific for both sides, but I thought the most egregious strike calls that he was making, and it's going to sound goofy because usually you would say on strike three it bothers you. There were, I counted 4 strike one calls, first pitch of an at-bat, where the ball is literally a ball or two off the plate, and it changes the at-bat. You go from 1-0 to 0-1, and things are just different. Now you're defensive when you're up there swinging. You got guys on base. All of a sudden, you find yourself in a one-strike hole. Not that it's 0-2, but it still changes the at-bat. The pitch where he actually lost his mind on Volpe was actually a strike, but to me, it was the LeMahieu at bat, the previous inning, that was so awful that I think really got him going. And then when Volpe had the reaction, and mostly because the catcher set up inside, he has to reach over, it was a strike. But when you see that and you're in the dugout, you're thinking he probably missed by 1.5 feet. He loses his mind. I had some people, not a lot, I had a few people on Twitter say, fake outrage. No, it wasn't.
See, this
that was built-up outrage.
I believe that was genuine.
100%.
And I believe it's not just last night. I believe it's because of the frustrating nature of where the Yankees are and how they have missed opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And this has been going on all season long. So what I saw last night, I didn't see fake rage. What I saw was, and what I felt was, a guy that was blowing off steam, had every right to blow off some steam last night. And, I think what people are reacting to is his mocking of the umpire calling strikes and striking guys out. That's what they're reacting to. His words to Laz Diaz, and I'm sure John Boy will have those words. They were printed. Well, some of them were printed in the paper. But the fact of the matter is that he's frustrated, and he knows. I think he knows his job's on the line.
Boomer, you can see it in his face.
I know. And I feel bad for guys like this. I don't ever want to call for jobs and things of that nature. It's not what I'm all about, unless, of course, I see total mismanagement or, the Phil Jacksons of the world or the Isaiah Thomases of the world, or even, sometimes, Luis Rojas, and you can see that these certain guys in positions just aren't, built for that position and shouldn't be built for that position, and shouldn't be in the position that they're in. Aaron Boone knows more baseball than I'll ever know. He grew up in the sport. He knows it. He is a lifer. And I think he is frustrated beyond all frustration, not only because of the strike calls, but let's face it. You have Giancarlo Stanton up there looks at 2 balls right down the middle of the plate that were strikes, and then chases the ball out of the strike zone and strikes out again. I mean, how many times have we seen that?
So let's talk about that for a second. So not just Stanton, but everything you just said about Boone. I happen to agree with you. I am not one of these Boone haters, and I know he's got his detractors. Every manager does. There were people that wanted to run Joe Torre out of here sooner than Joe Torre wound up leaving. I happen to think Boone has done a good job with what he is allowed to do, given the fact that he has given the roster, he has given the suggestions from analytics based on everything we hear, all of that. I do think he writes out the lineup, but he has probably suggested what it should be. And there's really not a whole hell of a lot I think the manager in today's day and age of baseball can do. I think he's got his guys' backs. I think he's got the respect of the guys in the locker room. But here is the hand he's being dealt. I wrote all this stuff down because as I'm going through the game last night.
Jerry, I love when you write stuff down.
Because I didn't want to forget certain little notes as I'm watching the game. And at one point, Michael Kay, at some point, I forget, they had, 3 different times they had guys on third. Hell, they had bases loaded, nobody out early on against Cease, who couldn't throw a strike, and they don't score. And at one point beyond that, maybe the 4th inning, 5th inning, I forget, where they're still struggling to get a hit, Michael Kay says, I think it was the 6th inning when they came up empty again, he goes, well, the Yankees just continue to fail to get the big hit. And here's what I took from that. So you look at failed to get the big hit. And he's not wrong. He's 100% right. They never got the big hit last night. But this is going to go to your point from yesterday. You know who failed to get the big hit? Volpe, batting 206. Rortvedt, before he was pinch hit for IKF. Rortvedt batting, if I had to ask you, I'm going to give you an over-under of Rortvedt's batting average. Over under 200.
Under.
Way under.
Yes.
What? Who was that guy that way below average? Who was that G used to do?
Oh, that was Charlie Castle.
This is way below average. Yes. 115.
Yes.
Now, I know Jake Bowers and the power hour and the I know he's had his moments.
Sure.
He's had his moments. He's batting 226. Yeah. IKF, who gets pinch hit for Rortvedt, because he's batting 115, comes in. IKF is batting a paltry 250. Not terrible, but he's not a 350 either. Billy McKinney has had a couple of nice moments.
Yes.
He's batting 225, and I give him credit. He did drive in a run with a sac fly,
yes, sure.
Whereas the other guys were popping up, 10 feet off the infield. And DJ LeMahieu, who in past years is the exact guy you want up in those spots, but he's batting 240, and he's a shell of himself.
When he was good, he was Derek Jeter in the clutch.
But he's not any longer. And so while they are 100% right, the Yankees failed to get the big hit last night several times. Who are these guys? This is the cards that Aaron Boone has dealt with.
Exactly.
And had to deal with. And yes, Stanton had a couple of opportunities. He walked in one spot where he really didn't get a pitch to hit.
It's so frustrating. I mean, it's just
they don't do anything.
I know it's frustrating. If they're not hitting home runs, they're not winning. You know that, and that's.
I want to be fair though. I do want to be fair. The guy Vaughn at first base who hit the home run makes the play of the night at first, where the Yankees almost got the big hit. So there was one play that could have gone the other way. But the point is, when you look at this Yankee team. And yes, they're slumping.
Yep.
Yes, they're still 3 games over 500.
Yep.
This is not a good baseball team as currently constituted right now.
Not with those names.
No, not when these are the guys that you need to come up and get a big hit.
That's true. And, a lot of that is because of injuries. And a lot of that is because guys are missing and guys are, not carrying their weight. They have a problem at left field. They got a problem.
Yeah, they do.
They got a problem at third base. They didn't really do anything up. They didn't do anything about either one. So this is going to be a unique offseason for the Yankees. I want to sit here and say that they still have a chance, and they'll tell you that it's
have a chance.
I mean, they'll all tell you that it's still in front of them.
It is.
How many times have we heard that?
True.
But it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, and whether it's those guys who are Midland guys and they're trying to find their way, or whether it's the superstars. And it's unfortunate because Aaron Judge is back now. And, you would like to have thought that, he was going to elevate everybody around him. And unfortunately, that has not taken root. It takes time.
That's the problem. You see that with Stanton. You see it with Judge. You see it with a lot of guys coming back from injury. They can't just get into the batter's box and all of a sudden be what they were. They will be, but it does take them a little bit of time. And the best part of this, well, not the best part, but another part of this would be the shocker of the day prior to the game, where your high-priced free agent pitcher went on the injured list.
Yes.
In Carlos Rodón or Rodón or whatever the hell he pronounces his name.
I don't know. I heard Susan and John talking. They say Rodón, but I don't know.
I don't know. But he sat there. CeeLo played those clips yesterday from Sunday. I'll do whatever they need. I'm good. They wanted to be cautious. Well, you know what? You actually have a little bit of a hamstring strain, and now you're out.
Well, the good news is you got 5 more years of him, and he can turn it around. That's what you're hoping.
All right, so let me ask you this. I'm like you. I'm not a proponent of sitting here and calling for people's jobs. I don't care to do that. I don't want to do that. I think that sucks. But these guys make a lot of money, and the results are what matter. And right now, the results aren't there.
Jerry, you get hung up on money all the time.
When you look, how so?
You always talk about money.
Well, when guys get paid a lot of money and they aren't earning it, yes, I do.
I know, but you do talk a lot about money.
No, I don't.
No, yeah, you do.
Okay,
guys, do you think that he talks a lot about money?
There you go.
I told you.
Well, that was Russell Westbrook. I wanted money.
Well, he wanted money and he got money.
He was throwing me fish, if you remember.
Exactly.
So when you look at this team,
yes,
and I happen to agree with you with Aaron Boone. I think
I thought that was genuine.
They're doing 100%, and I do think that he's got the respect of the players. You look at the construction of the team, and now this goes to the top, and this goes to Brian Cashman, and it goes to Hal Steinbrenner. Now, there are 2 ways you build teams, or really 3 ways. You build from the ground up, you basically go out and buy a team, or you build from the ground up and then you add to the team via free agency and trade.
So Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge, they one they bought and one they developed and paid.
Correct.
Stanton, you're Torres, they trade. Well, that's the problem. Torres they traded for, and he's probably been their most consistent player this year.
He's been good, not great. I don't even know he's been good. He's been okay.
But he's been their most consistent player because he's been there like Anthony Volpe has been there. But Anthony Volpe, much like Greg Beatty, who I told you they were going to send down.
Oh, Brett Beatty did get sent down. I was going to actually say, I meant to text you yesterday when I saw that.
Yeah.
Someone was listening to you.
Yes.
That was hours after you said it's time to head back to the minor leagues.
Yes.
So what do you do if you're and forget about
what do I do if I'm the Yankees? I just there's nothing you can do right now other than play out the rest of the season and hopefully catch a hot streak here in August and September and then see where it happens and maybe you get into the playoffs. And even if you do get into the playoffs, I don't think any Yankee fan has any real confidence that they can do anything. But quite frankly, if you have Garrett Cole on the mound in a wild card game, you should win that game.
Sure, but are you going to win a series with just Garrett Cole?
Especially if you play Minnesota.
Yes, but are you going to win a series if Garrett Cole is really the only guy you trust?
Well, the thing about it is Nestor Cortez is back.
And then what?
And then what? Clark Schmidt, I guess. These other guys. Maybe by the time that happens, if it does happen, maybe it's Rodón because Severino. I don't know where his head is at. He's completely shot right now.
He's been brutal.
And this goes to show you, Severino's been around for a while. And I've often told you guys that, even the guys that have been around for a while and have had major success can at times completely go into a mental funk.
Sure.
And, what he needs, to me anyway, he would need a sports therapist. He needs to sit down and talk to somebody and find out why he feels the way he does and why things are happening on the mound. And he needs to look at a lot of video. And I know I would not put him back out there for his next couple starts, but they may not have
they have an arms problem right now.
Right. They don't have an opportunity to make a change. That's the problem. And again, I think last night's sign of frustration by Aaron Boone tells you all you need to know about their season.
Well, I think they all have to be frustrated. When you're sitting there, you're playing a White Sox team that has underachieved massively this year.
And was supposedly a mess.
Right. You've got articles. You got a guy on your team now just ripping them to shreds and I know they fought back a little bit, but whatever.
Ripped them to shreds too.
So this is a team that's broken. They haven't played well. You go in there after, we do forget they split with the Astros. They didn't lose the series. They didn't get swept by the Astros. They took 2 out of 4. Not great, but not terrible.
They should have won the fourth game.
They had an opportunity last night to go in there, win the first game, and win a series. Now, that was a terrible start to the series. I get it, but they cannot allow because the teams above them keep winning. And all of a sudden, you look up, and what was once a game and actually in wild
what's it,
card
5.5
position
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look up 5.5's 5.5 with teams above you.
Yeah, I don't know if last night's outburst by Boone will do anything for this team. I don't know if this team's just dead men walking at the moment.
How about
I
they're
think
just what they are?
I think we felt that way about the Mets 3 weeks ago when I heard Howie talking about that $100 4 tickets, 4 pretzels, 4 hot dogs, 4 Coke promotion. As soon as I heard that, I said, "But they're selling off."
Well,
because they're not getting people to come to the stadium.
And they
their
did.
Stadium.
And and we'll get to the Mets at some point this morning. But I was annoyed last night when the beginning of the broadcast they're talking about how the Cubs and Mets were in the same exact position on July 1st or July 2nd, whatever it was. One team actually won some games and got themselves back in the race. The other team just played mediocre baseball and did nothing.
So are they going to remove these guys from the broadcast since they talk negative about the team?
We will get to that.
I mean, that seems to be
whole
going around.
situation.
The Baltimore Orioles situation is embarrassing.
Yes, we will get to that later in the hour, I promise you, because we have some thoughts on that coming up. It's 6:16 on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. It is the Boomer and Geo program on this Monday morning. We've got CeeLo coming up next. We've got Creep or Coordinator at some point this morning. And, oh, by the way, a guy who's not a creep, David Wright, in studio at 9 o'clock.
I like the way you did that.
How so?
You're going to ask David Wright about how much money he made?
Yeah, sure, if you want. I'll look it up if you want.
Yeah, I can tell you.
What did you make in your playing career?
Not as much as he did
in 1 year.
What are you making money. Jesus, Jerry.
Cash. Give me cash.
By the way, I did go down a YouTube rabbit hole yesterday.
Of?
I'll see if we can play it. Hopefully we can play it.
Okay.
And it's one of the best covers I've ever heard. And
Nice.
It's also one of the best productions I've ever seen of a particular cover. And then I went down this rabbit hole with this guy.
Was it Method Man?
No, it was not.
All right.
I'll tell you about that a little bit
Let's
later.
go to the break.
All right, shut up.